There is nothing in the ocean that the orca needs to be afraid of. And an apex predator that has never known fear, in an environment it has dominated for 11 million years, is not an animal that was ever performing. What it was doing in those tanks, in those stadiums, with those fish, was something that researchers who study orca cognition describe carefully and with visible discomfort as tolerating. The orca was tolerating you. And the difference between an animal that fears you and an animal that merely tolerates you is a difference that the ocean has been demonstrating with increasing clarity for years.
You already know what an orca looks like. You've seen them at marine parks, leaping on command, accepting fish from trainers, performing synchronized routines for stadiums full of applauding families. You think you understand them. Black and white, intelligent, playful. The ocean's most charismatic performer. The animal that children put on their bedroom walls. That environmental campaigns use as a symbol of ocean beauty. That humanity decided, somewhere along the way, was on our side. That decision was never theirs to make. Because here is what most people are never told. The orca is not a performer. It is not charismatic in the way that word implies safety. It is the most sophisticated, cooperative predator on Earth, operating in cultures, passing knowledge across generations, conducting hunts of such coordinated complexity that marine biologists, with decades of field experience, still encounter techniques they have never seen before. It has no natural predators. It has never had natural predators.
To understand the orca, you first have to understand what it means to be at the top. Not near the top, not competing for the top. At the absolute apex of the largest ecosystem on Earth, with no competition, no predation pressure, and 11 million years to perfect every technique required to stay there. The ocean covers 71% of this planet. It contains the largest biomass of any environment on Earth. And within that ocean, there is no animal. Not the great white shark, not the sperm whale, not the blue whale, the largest creature that has ever existed, that the orca cannot hunt, cannot kill, cannot remove from the equation if it decides to. This is not hyperbole. It is documented. Orcas hunt great white sharks, not occasionally, not as desperate last resorts, but as a targeted, repeatable hunting behavior that has driven great white populations out of entire regions. When orcas appear in an area, great whites leave. Not some of them, all of them. The apex predator of human nightmares vacates the ocean because of what just arrived. Orcas have been documented killing sperm whales, animals that reach 18 meters in length and 57,000 kilograms, in coordinated group hunts that can last hours. They have been documented hunting blue whales, the largest animal that has ever existed on this planet, in the entire history of life on Earth, and winning. This is what sits at the top of the ocean. Not a performer, not a charismatic symbol, something that kills blue whales, and has been doing so long before the first human being ever looked at the sea and wondered what was in it.
Start with the body. An adult male orca reaches 9 meters in length and 10,000 kilograms. The dorsal fin alone, collapsing in captivity due to the absence of the constant directional swimming that wild orcas perform, stands nearly 2 meters tall in healthy wild males. Their teeth are 10 centimeters long and conical, designed not for chewing, but for gripping, for holding prey that is trying to leave and not releasing it. Their bite force is among the highest of any animal on Earth. But the body of the orca is not what makes it dangerous. Plenty of large animals have powerful bodies. What makes the orca dangerous is what happens inside its head. An orca brain weighs approximately 6 kilograms. The human brain weighs 1.4. Raw size is not the only measure of cognitive capacity, but the orca brain is not merely large. It contains a highly developed paralimbic system, a region associated with emotional processing, social bonding, and self-awareness that is more elaborated in orcas than in any other animal, including humans. The implications of this are not fully understood. They are uncomfortable to consider. Because an animal with a more elaborated emotional processing system than a human being, that lives in complex multi-generational societies, that passes learned behaviors across generations, that has been documented grieving its dead, is not operating on instinct. It is operating on something that requires different language than we have been comfortable applying to non-human animals.
The cultures. This is the dimension of orca existence that marine biologists find most difficult to communicate, because the word itself carries implications that the scientific community has historically been reluctant to attach to non-human species. But the evidence has made reluctance increasingly difficult to maintain. Different orca populations around the world do not just behave differently. They have different diets, different hunting techniques, different vocalizations, different social structures, and they pass all of these to their offspring through learning, not through genetics, through teaching. Resident orcas off the Pacific Northwest of North America eat almost exclusively fish, specifically Chinook salmon, and use acoustic techniques to locate them. Transient orcas in the same waters eat marine mammals, seals, sea lions, porpoises, and hunt in near complete silence because their prey can hear them. Same species, same ocean, completely different cultures, maintained across generations through deliberate transmission of knowledge from older individuals to younger ones. In New Zealand, orcas have been documented intentionally beaching themselves to catch sea lions on shore, a technique that requires precise wave timing, precise body positioning, and the willingness to temporarily strand a 10,000-kilogram body on land. Young orcas practice this technique under the supervision of older females, repeatedly over months before attempting it independently. This is not instinct. Instinct does not require months of supervised practice. This is teaching, in the structured, intentional, knowledge-transferring sense that we have historically used to define human education.
The matriarchs. This is where the orca social structure reveals something that stops researchers, not because it is alien, but because it is not. Orcapods are led by older females, specifically by post-reproductive females. Females who can no longer have calves, but who continue to live and lead for decades afterward. The orca is one of only 5 species on Earth that experiences menopause, the cessation of reproduction before the end of life. Humans are another. The evolutionary logic of menopause has puzzled biologists for decades, because from a purely genetic standpoint, an animal that stops reproducing should be selected against. The answer, researchers now believe, is knowledge. An older female orca who is no longer competing reproductively with younger females invests her entire biological existence in the survival of her pod. She knows where the salmon are in lean years. She knows the hunting techniques that work in specific conditions. She knows things that younger animals do not know and cannot know because they have not lived long enough to learn them. Studies have shown that orcapods whose matriarch has died suffer significantly higher mortality rates, particularly in years when food is scarce. The old female was the difference between the pod surviving and the pod not surviving. An animal with menopause, with matriarchs, with culture, with teaching, with a more elaborated emotional processing system than a human being, tolerating a stadium full of people applauding while it performed for fish.